Father Patrick.
Yes.
Good to see you. I'm Brother Matthew Artall, first-year humanist here in Cheshire. Good to have you in Cheshire, by the way.
It's good to be back. I was a novice here for 2 years, a humanist here as well, so it was great. It's good to be back and see the place, all the brothers. Really exciting and really rejuvenating, renewing for all of us priests too.
Sure. Well, thank you for coming back, preaching to the brothers. I mean, it's really good. They look holy. You know what I mean? Thanks for working on that. Well, good. So, Father, where are you from originally?
So I am from Syracuse, New York. Syracuse, New York. Born and raised there. It's a lot of blizzards up there, a lot of whiteouts, a lot of snow. And yeah, I lived there most of my childhood, all the way up till I was 12 years old, and then I went to our high school seminary up in New Hampshire, the Apostleverse school at the time. Was there for 5 years, and then from there I came down. I was a novice here in Cheshire. So.
Wow. And now you're stationed you went from Rome, doing your formation, ordained deacon, and where were you stationed right after?
Atlanta, Georgia. So
okay.
Yeah, I was assigned from Rome. Cool story, actually, along the way. I made a pit stop back in Syracuse, and I was ordained a deacon with my dad. My dad, Deacon Terry, he's also a deacon. So, and I have an older brother who's a legionary priest. So we're a bit of a family.
Just changing the world, just doing God's work. That's awesome. Wow.
Yeah, I was ordained in Syracuse, and then wrapped up my theology studies, and then was assigned to Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay. Wow. So Atlanta, that's a little different from Syracuse.
Oh yeah.
A little different.
250 inches of snow different.
That'll be, oh my goodness. Wow.
But Atlanta's great. I've been there for 6 years. I really loved my time there. It's a growing place, amazing families. We have a great Regnum Christi school, Pinecrest Academy there.
Yeah.
A lot of Regnum Christi families, Regnum Christi being our movement, right? Our movement in the church. And I was assigned there actually not to work specifically or mostly at the school. I helped there part-time, but assigned directly actually to Ecyd, which is our movement of adolescents in the church.
Okay. I didn't realize that was your main assignment. Okay.
Yeah, that was my main assignment, so I've been doing that for 6 years. I didn't actually do much of that as a brother on my way in formation, because like you're going to find out too, you have some apostolate along the way, and you dibble-dabble and get experience along the way in our apostolate as legionaries. So I didn't do much of Ecyd, a little, but I was actually an Ecyd member as a boy.
Wow.
So, I think when we look back at our childhood, our adolescence, and going on up, there's some of these key moments in our relationship with God. And definitely Ecyd was one of those. I remember going on one of these conventions with all the other boys in New York, and there were boys from Detroit and all over the Northeast. And we actually went up to Cornwall, Canada, where we had a novitiate. So I was up there, and that's where I was asked, hey, do you want to officially join Ecyd? Father Kermit Siren, a legionary, a good friend of mine, he asked me that question. And I remember taking it super seriously, like, wow, okay, if I join Ecyd, first of all, I'm going to be doing it with a bunch of my friends. I'm not going to be just doing it by myself. Doing it with a bunch of my friends. I'm going to be doing it like publicly, like in the chapel of the seminary there, with all these other boys. So I'm going to have to like stand up and say something out loud. I'm like, oh. And then I'm going to be taking different commitments to live my friendship with Christ. Sometimes they're prayer commitments, but also commitments in apostolate. And so I remember doing that when I was 9 years old. Went there in the chapel, stood up. I still remember my place in the chapel, the pew, because it was a landmark moment in my life. So it's really cool now as a priest in my first assignment, my first ministry, my first years as a priest, actually being able to facilitate those experiences in Ecyd for a lot of boys down there in Georgia.
Wow. That's amazing. I mean, this is something that marked your life, joining Ecyd. That's incredible. And I imagine since you've been in formation, since that moment you were 9, the world has changed a little bit, or a lot actually, what it seems like. Do you feel like Ecyd has changed? What's the work that you've been doing down there in Atlanta? Are you working with the boys, with the families? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, so down there, one of the first things I try to do is just start up some clubs, some programs, get some good retreats, some camps, basically places where Ecyd, the kind of this movement, right, can flourish, right? ECYD, I mean, if you just want to look at it really simply, ECYD is Regnum Christi's youth organization. It's pretty much the movement of Regnum Christi, but for adolescents, which makes it really interesting because ECYD, me being a leader in ECYD, I'm not part of ECYD anymore. I grew out. I graduated. Now I'm in Regnum Christi, and in Regnum Christi, I'm a legionary priest. So ECYD is the kids. They're the adolescents. They're the ones that run the show, so to speak, right? It's their movement. It's their apostolate. It's their mission. ECYD is them. So as a leader in ECYD, as a formator, it's really interesting because you have to work to set things up. You have to get some of the adults, some of the other Regnum Christi members maybe, or just volunteers, get them to organize different events and clubs and sort of lead the charge there. But there's also kind of this element of stepping back and seeing our Lord at work in the hearts of these adolescents, right? They're kids from 5th grade, pretty much all the way through high school. And so those are beautiful years of life. They're challenging years of life too,
Yeah.
but they're really beautiful. It's in those years that we make decisions about who we're following in our life. What religion we'll follow, what our faith is going to look like. They're key years for families, right, in raising those kids and experiences that those young men and women have in their families. It's a key moment for them to step outside their family and realize, oh gosh, like my prayer, my faith isn't just something my family does. It's not just something my Catholic school does. It's not just something that is in my parish, but actually my peers in this city, in this country, in the whole world, they're excited about Jesus Christ. They're on fire with love for him, and they want to be saints. So being able to facilitate those experiences for the ECYD members is an amazing gift, and I would say it's even more powerful when you look at them and you see them like discovering that friendship with Jesus and stepping up and learning to be his apostles and kind of just seeing what that looks like. So if there's any change that I'd say I could see, I would say it's actually just among the adolescents more of like an ownership for their mission in the world, that they are called to be saints at their very age and reach out to the other adolescents their age. You can't wait until you're 30 to be a saint, right? Our Lord's calling you to be a saint when you're 9 years old. So
I love what you said. You said ECYD is them. Mm-hmm. That's the youth. That's really powerful statement to make. It's amazing to see the youth want to be saints. To see them. So how do you see yourself, facilitating that? How do you your role? So you're the Regnum Christi ECYD director for the territory, right? So
yeah,
big dog. How do you help facilitate those encounters with Christ? Those to help these kids become saints.
I'd say I'm a big dog with no teeth, right?
Yeah.
I just try to go and be man's best friend, right? So go around and support. Really, I think that's what I do. Yeah. Like you mentioned, I started as helping as the ECYD Boys Director in Atlanta. So I did that for about 5 years, more or less, and working with all the ECYD girls there too. And so this past year, I was asked to help lead our national efforts. We have an office nationally that supports all the different ECYD directors around the U.S. and Canada, and then also just get to know the adolescents themselves and work with them. So it's really cool now. I get to go around all the different cities and meet all the kids and actually work a little bit more on the level of the U.S. and Canada. So kind of like helping at those events where the kids go to more national things and they meet other adolescents their age. That's a lot of Christ magic, that's a thing, happens there, right? The magic happens there. And it's really amazing to see. So about a year and a half ago, we were kind of at this point when we're going around and seeing all the ECYD members, and you're just seeing a lot of energy, a lot of enthusiasm. They want to, they're like, let's move, let's change the world, right? That's what they want to do. Let's change the world for Christ. And so I got together with a lot of the different ECYD directors, the adult leaders in the different areas. Sometimes they're legionaries, sometimes they're consecrated women of Regnum Christi, sometimes they're lay members of Regnum Christi. Great team all over the place. and we talked about what would it look like to help craft a vision for the members themselves. Sometimes, as adults, you speak lingo like way above the level of like kids. Like they want something simple and they want it straight and they want to be real, right? They don't want all this fluff. And so sometimes, visions and plans and all this, it's a lot of fluff at the end of the day. So we wanted something in their own language, something that they would resonate with, that they themselves were part of the process of creating, to have a vision for what it looked like for them to be apostles. So we worked through the ECYD directors and through the kids themselves, especially the adolescents that have been more involved in ECYD. And it's a beautiful vision and a beautiful plan really has come from it. So I could maybe
Could you tell me about this?
Yeah.
I'm kind of excited.
Yeah. So here it is. Here it is. So vision statement. Their vision, not my vision statement for them. It's their vision statement. Right? We are ECYD apostles. With a fire in our hearts, we proclaim to the youth of our world, Christ our friend, Christ our King. Simple. Right? We are ECYD apostles. With a fire in our hearts, we proclaim to the youth of our world, Christ our friend, Christ our King.
That's amazing.
And if you're a member of Reverend Christi, or if you're an ECYD, you know that the motto for ECYD is Christ our King, thy kingdom come. So it's almost, as you say that phrase, everybody knows that what comes after that, Christ our friend, Christ our King, is thy kingdom come.
Of course.
So this, and that's what it is. We're ECYD apostles. A lot of times when I talk about ECYD to the boys, the girls, the adolescents, and the parents, and I'm explaining, okay, what's different about ECYD? ECYD is a little bit more of like a movement feel, you could say, because of its connection to Regnum Christi. But it's not a program. But when you compare it to other ministries out there, right? You compare it to Life Teen or Edge or other great programs. If I'm helping a kid discern whether God might be calling him to ECYD or not, what's different? And it comes down to the charism. The charism we receive when we join ECYD from our Lord. And the way I describe the charism is simple. When you look Jesus Christ in the eyes, you feel like the most loved person in the entire world. And yet in the same look, you also feel challenged by Christ. You feel called forth by your King to ride with him, to go with him, to be with him. Not just to be with him on the mountaintop, but to be with him in the towns, to go out and to build up his kingdom with him, right? It's the twofold experience of the heart of Christ. The Sacred Heart of Jesus, but also the heart of Jesus, our King. And I think in the world today, we don't really have that experience too much. A lot of times we think of God as either the fluffy teddy bear I bring to bed with me. I love teddy bears. Actually, I never really had a teddy bear. I had a monkey, though.
No, I had a little dog.
Yeah, dogs. Teddy bears are overrated. But, it's not a fluffy purple monkey like one I had that you bring to bed at night and just helps you get to sleep and comforts you. Those things are important. Sometimes people see God just as that. Other people see God as that dictator. He's not a tyrant, but he's pretty strong-handed, and he has a lot of rules. He has a lot of commandments and precepts of the church, and that you have to obey. And if you don't, you feel really bad, and then I got to go to confession. But our Lord is both. He is both our best friend, and he is our King. And that combination is very powerful, and that's the experience that we have when we're in ECYD. When we're in ECYD, we experience that we're one of the 12. We've been called by Jesus and are friends of his and are following the King. ECYD is all about Jesus' friendship with the apostles, right, who follow their King. Simple, right? So that's sort of been the nucleus around that vision statement, that plan. And there are a couple of really awesome initiatives that have come from it. Maybe I could just list off.
Yeah, please.
2 or 3, maybe.
Just a little.
Just a little.
Please do.
So one of them is ECYD Missionaries. So ECYD Missionaries is a program of ECYD for high schoolers, so rising 10th graders on up through high school. And they're adolescents, boys and girls, who feel called by our Lord to dedicate a month, at least a month in the summer, to go and be his missionary. So it's pretty much a missionary exchange program that we facilitate between the different ECYD sites or cities, right? And that's not just in the U.S. and Canada, Calgary, Toronto, Dallas, Houston, New Orleans, Atlanta, D.C., Philadelphia. I keep going. I don't want to miss anything, but Cincinnati. There are a lot, right? And there are other cities outside the U.S. and Canada, right? This is a worldwide movement, so international. And so they are able to go to different places. Like last year, I sent a few guys from Atlanta, Georgia, to Italy. So they went to Rome first for a couple days, then they flew down to Palermo, Sicily, then they stopped in Catania. And so they go around, and there's ECYD members over there, and there's ECYD formators over there. So there's a site, they'll get sent over there. They'll have this amazing experience of being our Lord's apostle, but also really experiencing that friendship. It's all around the world, right? I'm with guys who have the same experience everywhere. So our goal, the plan, is to grow that program out to have 100 ECYD missionaries from our territory by 2033. So we're moving towards that and trying to get people involved in that and see how they can support in that area. So that's really excited about that because firsthand, I've been running it the last 6 years in Atlanta. And firsthand, I've seen the beautiful fruits, what our Lord does. When we're a little generous with the Lord is so generous with us. Right? So that's awesome. And then maybe the other one that comes to mind, the other part of the plan, is Apostleverse 2033. So it's a 9-year plan. The whole plan's a 9-year plan. It's not coincidental because 9 years from now, a novena of years, we're going to be celebrating the 2000th anniversary of redemption, which in our lingo in ECYD, kind of seeing it from our charism, the 2000th anniversary of apostles. So in ECYD, we want to prepare the world for that, right? We want to prepare the adolescents, the boys and girls, ECYD age, for that moment. They're obviously not going to be adolescents in 9 years from now, right?
Right, but
but they will have walked that journey, and they will have led, and in that moment they'll be leaders for a lot of adolescents around the world, and it'll be that same vision over the next 9 years. So that's the plan. We're going to be walking in these next 9 years and just helping everyone become a little bit more aware of this huge jubilee. It's going to be an enormous jubilee year. If you thought the year 2000, that jubilee was something special, wait till 2033, right?
this is redemption. We're talking about
this,
right?
this is
like,
redemption.
Let's get ready.
Jesus was born so that he could enter into the Paschal mystery and save us. So, and as apostles, we could be part of that. And it's, this isn't just something celebrated by a Catholic Church. It's going to be celebrated by Christians all over the world. And so it's going to be a really awesome opportunity. And the ECYD members themselves will be taking to social media in what we're calling the Apostleverse 2033 campaign and inviting people to enter into that Apostleverse, right? To get ready to be the heroes and the apostles that the world needs today. And you can do it as an adolescent. You can do it as a 9-year-old, as a 12-year-old, as a 15-year-old. You can, and you need to actually do it, right? We're the best apostles to our peers, and whatever age, I guess that is, for all of us. And that's I'm super excited about that, and we're getting that rolling soon. So,
gosh, this is incredible. That's like anybody who understands how much trouble there is in people, in the youth, in the world. This is hope. This is a lot of hope that you as a priest are working with young people so that they can lead their own peers to Christ. That's incredible. The fact that there's anybody who wants to do that and is really able to and is succeeding, this is incredible. So thank you for doing that. First of all, that's awesome.
Yeah, no, I love it. It's not easy. Youth ministry is not easy, right? Because as you get older, then you start getting a little more tired. Right?
Sure.
I'm not that old, but that's definitely a real thing. And sometimes it's kind of complicated to work with the youth. So, and the youth challenge us, right? They have this energy and they have this. They see the world in a really simple way, but a really hope-filled way, an energetic way, and we actually need that. We. If you look at, I don't know offhand the data, but if you actually look at the age of most martyrs, I bet most of them were younger, right? as we get older, we kind of just settle into our ways, and that's fine, right? We grow spiritually, and kind of mature in our spiritual life. But we need the youth, right? Our Lord even said, "Let the children come to me." Sometimes you don't expect too much from the adolescents, but they're the ones who the heart of Christ burns after the most, right? He wants them to come to Him, and why is that? Because yeah, the adolescents themselves will change the world. They spark a fire in our hearts, which it gets us going. And so yeah, I think my mission, it's taxing. You know, you're traveling a lot, you're working a lot, you're going to a lot of camps, a lot of sleepless nights, things like that, right? I could tell you a whole bunch of stories about Camp Atlantis and Atlanta. You know. But anyways, we'll save that for another time. And yet, it's so life-giving to me at the same time.
Wow. So Father, like, when you're explaining ECYD to the youth, how do they understand it? Like, how do the young people who are in it or their friends, how do they understand ECYD for them?
Yeah, I think they, like I said, it's simple. Whenever I think a lot of times, and I'll ask this, usually on our retreats, I'll have what's called like the panel of friendship with Christ, like the Friends of Christ panel in ECYD. And so you have ECYD members from the different stages, right? In ECYD, there's 4 stages. And so you invite them. Sometimes you have some of the young adults, like Regnum Christi missionaries and things. And they just share with the boys in the retreat what friendship with Christ means to them, right? Because ECYD is all about Jesus' friendship with the apostles. So that's how they experience it. They usually talk about ECYD in terms of friendship with Christ. I mean, in fact, you join ECYD, like I mentioned when I was up in Canada. I joined ECYD by making a public pledge of friendship with Christ in ECYD, right? So it's all about that friendship, and that's how they speak about it. They usually talk about friendship with our Lord. They usually talk about an encounter with our Lord in the Eucharist. I think when Jesus comes to encounter the youth today, it's primarily in the Eucharist. I mean, I've seen it over and over and over again. So just to be able to get the ECYD members in front of the Eucharist, just that accomplishment, right? It's awesome. And so they talk about the Eucharist, and they also talk about friendship with each other, which is another big thing of ECYD, right? Because the actual definition, it's an international organization of adolescents who make a pledge of friendship with Christ and with each other to build up the world, right? To change the world according to the gospel. So you see that, like they have a strong friendship with each other, you know, locally, but then, you know, they stay connected when they go on these national and international events. And that's something they really appreciate as well. They love leadership opportunities. So as they get older, you know, they'll have a chance to lead the younger ones. Like they're in high school, they might be a team leader in a club for the younger ones or on retreats. And they really love that too, that opportunity to be an older brother or an older sister, right? So, and then they challenge the holiness. We had, in Atlanta last year, we had a patrons party. So every year, it's tradition to receive a patron saint. And so in Atlanta, we usually do it right around the feast days of the 2 patron saints of ECYD, St. Jose Sanchez del Rio and St. Agnes.
Nice.
So there are 2 patrons. And so right around their feast days, like in February, January, we have a patrons party. So it's get all the kids, go to a restaurant, whatever, you know, eating tacos. And had a lot of music, a lot of fun, but we give them their patron saint cards, right? And so, anyways, I usually have a couple of them give a testimony. And so I asked one of the boys I've known for a while to stand up and give a testimony, and he gave a great testimony, and it was a challenging testimony, right? So they challenge each other to be saints. Like, no, we need to, you know, the future of ECYD is in our hands. You know, we need to step up, be those saints. We need to look after the younger ones, right? So it was a beautiful message, which I love to see, right?
Wow. That's amazing. So it's a place where they belong. That's what it seems like. You know,
Yeah.
We find a family. That's really incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Father, thank you so much. I mean, what a gift. I really just want to hear more, to be honest. So maybe we can come back and tell us even more one day soon.
Sure, yeah,
it's good
I'd love
to have you. Yeah. Well, let's go pray for these guys on specs, spiritual exercises, and for the hope for the youth for ECYD.
Yeah, great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matthew. God bless you.
Thanks, Father.